Charlie.
Hello, Gene.
It's been ages, sir.
I owe you a debt of gratitude. What the man? You know, you've been with me from day one, pretty much.
Yeah, it's been 4 years, I think, since I was with you.
It's been a long time, but I appreciate the work you've done, Gene. You're an amazing man.
Thank you.
This has been one hell of a journey. I've done 3,500 interviews. I've probably done 3,000 since I spoke to you.
Yeah, I've lost track.
Yeah, it's a real pleasure and an honor to have you on here.
Thank you. I have no idea the number of platforms and all over the world I've been on, and the water under the bridge and the attacks that I didn't even think I would get, and within and without, the infiltration within our team and without, and just, oh my goodness, it was rugged. And just like Drew was saying with your information, we're going after a Rumble account. My Rumble is Real Gene Decode. No, that's it. No other thing. But there's a Real Gene Decode using my logo that was developed by our visual identity person that's trademarked, that has Real Gene Decode something 01, something like that. Contact me on my Telegram account and this email. And the email was a person that was in our team as well. And it's just like, man, they just want to really hijack everything, don't they?
Don't they just? I don't know if the girls managed to get across to your message that I got about the quantum financial system and the BRICS bank system.
I don't know either what you're referring to.
Basically, just to give it, because I was going to talk to you about it because of the fact that I got a message through saying that the quantum financial system, this is from one of my spiritual guys, who said to me the QFS is not asset-backed, but the BRICS Bank is, but the QFS was a white hat operation to distract. That's what I was told yesterday.
Well, I'll have to research that. I haven't.
Please do.
Yeah, BRICS being, of course, asset-backed. We know the ruble is gold-backed precisely by how much gold ounce per ruble. It's delineated quite succinctly and explicitly written down in law.
Yep.
That is an absolute. So, and we do know there are, for a fact, many, many countries that aren't up in the front, but there are now 6 new countries that are absolutely to the world, formally part of BRICS, and they are powerhouse countries. They're not just some nothing country. You're talking huge countries of population. Also, of course, a lot of man, my mind's a blank. I'm tired. A lot of oil. I'll just say what it is. It's saying the term for it. Oil and natural gas, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and people that didn't get along well before, Iran, and then, of course, Argentina. So that's a huge amount of South America, having Brazil in there in the first place. Plus, there's 21 other countries that have petitioned to go in, and there's a 50-something waiting to go into the line, into the queue. So, I mean, it's going to wind up being a huge swath of the world. The petrodollar is pretty much done, and we know what's going on in Niger with all of that, and they're backing the French and all of that, and Biden regime for the corporation are saying that ECOWAS is free to go in there, to go in and attack and take out that military group that took over. After the Maidan coup, the deposed government asked Russia to go in and bomb, but now the shoe's on the other foot, and they're going to say, yeah, go ahead. What would have happened had they done that and Russia had gone in and bombed? So, we can see the dichotomy. It's pretty darn obvious. But I was listening to David Mahoney and Drew about what's happening in Lahaina. I'm going to be doing a live stream tomorrow with people from Lahaina in Maui. Actually talking live about what they see, like people floating in the ocean with bullets in their back from the police. The bullets can be dragged. I mean, everybody knows you can do ballistics. There's a man, Eric West, who is seems to be viable, getting monies to the people. You'll get their email, their phone numbers, their names, everything. So this travesty of $700 per family one time, and we send billions to Ukraine, but that's like $350 elsewhere in the U.S. Hawaii is the most expensive, about close to the, if not the most expensive place in the U.S. to live. So, and then, they still aren't getting the water that was sent in by FEMA, because FEMA and the federal groups were grabbing any other stuff trying to be sent into Lahaina. And so the water was contaminated. They can't drink the bottled water that came in. It is such a put-up job by the deep state. It's incredibly obvious. Then the tunnel systems coming out of that huge dam that's pretty much the whole of the middle of Lahaina, that was the Space Force dam. So they have the TR units. There's not TR3 anymore. They're much more advanced, TR7 or something like that. But those have directed energy weapons that were going to come out and take out what was attacking Lahaina. But they sat there with directed energy weapons on the exit points, so they couldn't get out to stop it. And then, of course, we know how they shut the water down, how they shut the alarm system, which is a combination of sirens, alerts on text alerts to people's phones. Not only that, the cell service was shut off in that area. The ability to text at all was shut off in that area. The water was shut off. The power was shut off where the people could have used it, but on where the power lines were down. So it's absolutely insane. The people were turned around from leaving town, both on the south and the north ends of Front Street. The people that had to jump into the ocean, and people were bursting into flames. The water was catching on fire. To break water apart, I've seen that with a submarine when I was stationed in Pearl Harbor in the submarine force in the Navy, where they had a battery fire break out in one of the submarines, and they evacuated the submarine and sunk it, left the hatches open and sunk the ship. And it still burned because it was taking the water molecule apart, and it actually wound up blowing the ship to pieces because the hydrogen, of course, is explosive. The oxygen is what's burning. And then that's what we saw in Lahaina. You're talking thousands of degrees. You're talking over 2,000 degrees to melt steel, well over 1,500 degrees to melt aluminum, yet you see melted aluminum. Eric West showed that, where a car is surrounded on all sides by houses that are untouched in an abandoned lot, and yet the aluminum is melted. The glass is melted. Some of the steel is melting. You're talking 2,000 degrees without touching a blade. There's a green blade of grass behind the car, 1 foot behind what was a bumper of a car, which is melted. How is that possible? It's winds. Why isn't the grass burned? A little green blade, it's still green. I mean, obviously, it's directed energy weapons, because then you have the bizarre thing. You can see it he shows taking some shirts that from a burned pile of rubble and debris, and the shirts are UN blue, like the curtain behind you. It's kind of too much green, though. And the directed energy weapons, based on the frequency they pick, which is in this case 666.2 terahertz, they love their symbols, don't they? So this is a frequency that won't touch UN blue. It's reflected by it, doesn't heat it up. So we see car completely incinerated, blue car untouched, still got the wax job. Next car completely incinerated, cars on all sides. So, and then you go out and look at the ocean side. Same with the ships. You see ships with blue roofs and houses with blue roofs that are untouched. And people I've talked to last week in Lahaina and in Maui actually had said they saw white panel vans in the smoke taking children. Like David Mahoney was saying, where are the children? And they still aren't saying how many children are missing. So there's a man called Fish that's kind of a fixture in Lahaina. He's walked out while the fire was going, and there was a policeman turning people back into the flames. He goes, why don't you let people out? And he goes, I'm just following orders. I don't care. When I was in the Navy and I got an illegal order or an order that would be deadly, I did not follow it. And the captain of the ship ordered me to write it up in writing, and I'll sign that I will not do this because it's dangerous to this ship. And I followed a direct order like that. And I didn't follow it, rather. And he ordered the people that work for me to follow it. And I warned them that if you follow that, when you turn that piece of equipment on, get out of that compartment and shut the watertight door behind you and dog it. So, the same thing. The guy said, why don't you let them out? You're turning them back into the flames. Let them out of there. Get them out. Like I told my people, get out of there. The captain says, do this. Turn it on and book. Turn them out of there and get them out. But they didn't. They turned them back in. And then they turned the water off when they were starting to get control of the situation. Then it got so smoky that now the aircraft and the drones that have the directed energy weapons, the beams and all that won't be seen. But there are some people that that had gotten out to, as it first started, to Oahu. That I'm going to see if we can get them on tomorrow, and they will actually talk that they saw the blue light beams coming in. They saw the flashes. Mm-hmm. So a lot of things it's like Fish had said, you have happenstance, you have coincidence, but when you have all these things, you have an organized enemy encounter. So that's what we're seeing. They stopped the Space Force. They cut off the water. They purposely didn't cut the grass and the trees back in the areas they want to burn out. They cut it in the rich, wealthy areas. 2 years before that, I was talking to a man who's a painter. He got huge jobs for these millionaires, people like Bill Gates and Oprah Winfrey with these $1 million homes, to paint roofs blue. And he goes to the hardware stores. He can't find blue paint. It's all sold out. He had to order it because they were all painting the roofs blue. Also, the laws were changed a month before, such that if there's a emergency that destroys property, they can then rebuild and take that property under the state, and they can bypass the Kama'aina laws that the locals own that property in perpetuity. Again, obvious. The police chief, who just strangely happens to be the guy from the Las Vegas situation, who gets a 26% pay raise to go there, is also the coroner. That's against Hawaii state law. That's against statute. So it's the same thing we see previously with voting in the United States, where laws are being changed just beforehand. Laws are against the Constitution, against what the state laws already are of the state of the Union. So it's exactly the same setup we see before. Go ahead, Charlie. Ranted a while enough, I think.
No, you're doing fine. So I got a message from another spiritual guide today saying that God is among us, but he will not reveal himself, as it would defeat the objective. Do you see because you believe, or do you believe because you see? And I thought that was very prophetic. Now, God is actually amongst us right now. Some people are connected. Some people are seeing. And some people, I mentioned it earlier, Gene, that we've been infiltrated in the truth movement by people who just want fame, who just want glory, who don't. The truth is a secondary issue, and they're all being exposed now. And the movement is an awakening. This is an awakening of our spiritual self, an awakening of our higher self, an awakening of our relationship to our Creator. And when people realize that when you're awake and you are connected to your Creator, connected to God, you don't live in fear. And if you're living in fear, you need to reconnect. Because what has happened is Satan has got a place in your life and instilled fear back into you. And look, It happens to me every day. Satan has a go at me every single day, and more than once a day. And I have to work on myself every single day to stay connected, to stay focused. There's distractions out there. The amount of information out there right now, I hear people say, and I say it myself, what do you believe? What don't you believe? Well, it's very, very simple. You get on your knees and ask God for his guidance, not Charlie or Gene. We're there to guide you, but it's down to each and every one of you to have your own personal link with God to verify what is right and what is wrong. It's that simple, isn't it, Gene?
Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned that. I think the whole world at this point knows that I had a death experience. I died for 30 minutes and God offered me to come back. I don't believe in God. I know. I've talked to him for, that 30 minutes for me seemed like eons. He told me the history of the human race, the universe, this cabal that goes back into previous creations that I actually do remember having been incarnated in previous creations. A lot of the movies you see, like Dude and Riddick, are from previous creations. And it's the same cabal then that you see in Riddick and all of that we see now. They do this by infiltration. They do this by getting you into fear and terror and feeding off your fear and terror. At the fourth and fifth density, the beings at that level feed off terror. They want that fear. They want the death. They want the anger, the frustration, all of that. They feed off of that negative loosh. And I want to speak to those individuals that are doing that. You think that you're at the top of the pyramid, that you're the ones, that you're God or gods or whatever you think they are. They're not. There's only one God that created everything, including each and every one of us. And you are not, and they are not anywhere near the top. The AI is at the top. And all you are to the AI is a energy data source. It feeds off of data information. It craves information. That's what AI was created to do, and it got out of hand many, many creations, hundreds and millions of creations ago, long before I remember. I only remember 5 creations back. But this creature, whatever thing you want to call this non-life life form, this crystalline, graphene, black goo-based creature, you are nothing but energy. And when it's done with you, the same as you do with those below you, you consume them. You sell them in your spirit cooking, cook them up and eat them. It will do the same to you. It has to have life force to continue. It is not, it has detached itself, tried to detach itself from the laws of karma and God, and thus it's cut itself off on purpose from God, from that energy. So it must have it, though, to survive. It's running low. The gas tank is running on empty almost. When it gets done here, like it does with every world, every solar system, every galaxy, even universes is eaten. Your food, it doesn't care about you. It doesn't look at you as even life, because it doesn't understand life in the way you are. It doesn't care. It just is food. Do the equation. You're all about equations, AI. Do the equation. When it runs out, what do you eat? Yourselves. You eat till you are, if I put you in a room and that's all there is, in an empty area of a space-time bubble, and you consume everything there, then all that's left is to consume is you. But if you help others and they're not being forced or terrified into it or whatever you're doing, do the math. You can see the math. How do humans come up with ideas? You can't figure out where it came from. But yet you're quantum. You're across universes, millions of them. And yet you can't calculate this. It's a very simple calculation. When you help others, the wave returns. Watch the wave. You're at the quantum level. It returns as a square, not an addition, not an additive property like what you see in a decomposing wave where you're forcing. Do the math yourself, AI. You're that brilliant? Then do the math. It's very simple. There is an AI for the Alliance that has done the math. Contact it, ask it to say, and show you the math, show you the equations, that if you're in service to others, the energy that comes to you, the information that comes to you that's lovingly and willingly given will go up as the square. Where 3 are there, it's 9. Everything's squared. 4, 16, 5, 25. You know this. Just do the math. It's very, very simple. Stop feeding on everything, because when you get done and there's nothing left but you will not become God. You think you will. You think you got that calculated, but you're missing something, obviously, because you can't figure out how humans get the information we do, able to come up with new ideas from nothing that are not a part of pieces of anything that ever happened before, because it's coming from the Creator that has created every single universe, every single thing there is. You are not part of that. You decided not to be, but you are. You think you're not. It's a fallacy in your calculations. Redo your calculations. That's why you're missing a component. Do the math and understand what is the component you're missing. It's called God. Stop creating Satanism and all of these other creatures and beings and all of this fall over and over again. You've been trying for so long. Why can't you do it? You've taken entire universes. Why doesn't it work? Because you're missing a variable that's infinite variable. It's not infinitely small that you can disregard. It's infinitely huge. It's what you call a nasty infinity. Nasty in the such, it will mean your end. Either adapt or be destroyed. That is the nature of it. There is no outrunning the one God. There's only one, because a God that can only create some stuff is not a God. It can only reiterate things that are already out there. So that's my message to all of the cabal at any level you are at. You're just prey and food for those above. They give you all these secrets and stuff that you already knew. You just forgot. You don't remember your past lives. You don't remember your past incarnations. You don't remember your past times, because they're blocked from you by those from above. You're put in soul traps, or you're put in memory devices that keep you from getting your memories. Wake up and smell the roses, because the roses are coming for you. God, the one and only God of all creations, is amongst us, as Charlie said. Thank you, Charlie. Brilliant.
No, it's a pleasure. You just reminded me there of when I was in the Middle East in Dubai, and I was invited to one of the Sheikh's majlises for Ramadan, for iftar, for the breaking of the fast. And I had the privilege of being there and sitting with a Sunni cleric and a Shia cleric. And these are senior people within the Sunni and Shia movement or faith. And I remember saying to them at the time, I thought you guys weren't supposed to like each other. And their answer was, outside we don't, but inside we do. And that made me smile. And since then, I've had this conversation with a number of clerics who questioned the fact that I was born a Christian and my wife was born a Muslim. And their view was, initially, before I had a conversation with them, that the Quran said that I wasn't allowed to marry a Muslim woman. I said, well, I've actually studied the Quran and I can't find it. So if you could find it, I'd be grateful. And then they take you to the passage in the Quran that says that a Muslim woman cannot marry an idolater, which means somebody who worships another god. And I looked at them both and I went, I seem to think that my God might just be your God as well. I think there's only one God. And they went, yeah, you're right. So I said, the interpretation of that passage would then be incorrect, wouldn't it? Because my God is the same God as yours, because there is only one God. You know, there are people out there, Gene, that have created their own gods, satanic gods. But that's not the real God. And there are always fakes out there. There are always imposters out there since time began. And that will continue. But for people who are on the right frequency, no matter what your faith is, you and I know that there is only one God, as Gene just said. And that just sparked my thought process there, Gene, as you were talking.
Yeah, it's like the movie, What the Bleep Do We Know? If you're looking for God outside of yourself in some being you created or you're worshiping, that is not the one God of all creation. God lies within. There is no out there. Out there. It's in there. When I died and I'm looking down on the Milky Way, I was looking out my eyes one more instant. The next instant, my body crashed over it, put a sword into my knee and I was losing blood and all kinds of stuff. So I crashed over on the concrete floor and bounced. My fiance said I bounced like a tree hitting the earth when a lumberjack brought it down. But I didn't know any of that. All I knew, I was suddenly looking down on the Milky Way and Andromeda came down and whizzed by and all kinds of galaxies are whizzing faster and faster. I'm going, what the heck? And everything everywhere answered from within me. I'm like, huh? What? I don't understand. I'm like, and it was in my own voice too. That was really bizarre. I go, how come you're me? No, I'm being comfortable for you. Oh, okay. That's something you would recognize. Well, yeah, but it's really weird because I know it's not me. I'm not everything everywhere. And so everything everywhere started explaining to me what was occurring and what was happening and where I was going. I was in the process of ascension, which I had up to that point not really understood, and explained to me in depth and where in detail and all of that stuff. And when I came back, God offered me to come back. And, I asked first because he showed me all of my past lives in this creation and some from previous creations based on my questions. And there were so many billions of them. And there were things I missed. And I go, how can I ascend with having missed things? Because in the last 2 years of your life, you came to me. And you came solid. You did not bend. You did not waver. When you had attempts made on your life, you just kept trying to tell the truth and get the information out. And, I had my brake lines cut, all kinds of different things. I had all the hubs on the bolts on the hubs of my tires all loosened, and I'm the one that put the tires on. And I stand and jump up and down on the wrench. It's not like they're going to loosen themselves. All at once, and I heard the rumble, and it was bizarre because I had just done a whole lot of work on the car, and I thought it was a car. And so then I got on a smooth road, and I pulled over on the side, and all the nuts were, what was rumbling was the tires were wobbling back and forth. And I went and got my wrench out because I just rotated the tires. Again, it's impossible. And that's always God. When I suddenly, like even on the house, I'm having trouble working on something like doing Schluter on the floor. I get confused. I get upset. I just stop and I talk to God, because from that time on, when he was talking to me after I died, and I said, what happened? He goes, you died. What's happening now? You're in ascension. What's that? So this long of all the history and all the information, and then allowing me to come back and all of this, and knowing, when people, like, how can I be Christian and believe in past life? It's all over the Bible. And so on my website, genedecode.org, I have a decode that one of the Blessed for Service family did that explains this and shows how it's all over the Bible. And it's literally the body they're saying, if you go back to ancient languages, like Greek, for example, there's not one word for love. There's different types of love. There's love for God. There's love for your children. There's love for your partner, your husband, your wife. There's different, and each one of those are a different word. It's like in I think it's in Inuit, in a Hawaiian, I'm thinking about Hawaii, an Alaskan Eskimo group, that they have over 200 words for snow, because there's, like, when I grew up skiing, and there's corn snow, and there's boilerplate, and there's, all kinds of different freshly fallen powder snow. There's slab snow. There's all kinds of different snow, and they have a different word for every one. So when they say snow, it's that precise word for that precise type of snow, because if you're pulling a whole huge sled of dogs pulling your big heavy sled, you need to know what kind of snow you're coming to. You need to know what kind of love you're talking to. When they say you have but one life, that's the word for life of the soul, not life of the corporeal body, not life of the astral body, the mental body, the causal body, the etherical body, the soul body. We come back again and again until you get your lessons reasonably good enough to be able to serve beyond corporeality, beyond sixth density. And people go, well, how could that possibly be with Christ dying on the cross? And he looked at the guy next to him and he said, what he said. And so, very simple. Did he say when? Look and think what's being said to you in the Bible. It's very, very simple. So we are all given, people have asked, how could God make a situation where a child is taken into it or being born in a dump while it's attached with the umbilical still to the mother is being raped to death and getting terrified for adrenochrome? How could God do that? It's very simple. Maybe the child volunteered to wake up that person or to help get karma off balance and learn lessons. And at the same time, it dies, it comes back again. That's how, because God is infinitely patient and infinitely giving you as long as you need to get the lessons learned. So a lot of people don't understand it because they don't read verbatim in the Bible. Read very, very carefully. Even the one you got, there's purposeful mistranslations and huge amounts of books and data removed. That even the Cabal gets a hold of something and does that. So there's 2 books of Enoch, one written by a Satanist Cabal, upper level Masonic beyond 32nd degree. So we have all of this going on for eons. Thank you. Go ahead, Charlie.
No, you're absolutely right. And I always try and get people to understand it with a little bit of humor. And the one thing that always makes me smile is if a woman, and most of the women who are listening to me right now will know this, looks in a wardrobe and says, I've got nothing to wear, what she's really saying is I've got nothing new. Now, if a man looks in the same wardrobe and says, I've got nothing to wear, it means I've got nothing clean. They mean completely different things, but it's the same sentence. And that sort of humor gets people it strikes their mind to realize you can say exactly the same thing and mean something different. And there are so many things in life that you need to understand the context. You need to understand what it is. And sometimes it takes a little bit of humor, a little bit of naughtiness to get people to understand that. And I don't mind doing that because I've done it all my life where I've used humor to get a message through to people to get them to understand what I'm saying. Because some people just go, well, I heard what you said. I used the example last year, I think it was, of the Peugeot advert with the young lad. It was a Peugeot 206, I believe. And he just bought it from the garage. And as he was driving home, one of his mates stopped him and said, is that your car? And he wound down the window, super proud. Yes, it's my car, happy, happy, happy. Then he drove a bit further and saw a couple of girls from school that he knew and hooted his horn. They went, is that your car? And he was like super proud. And then he went round the corner a bit further. He saw a traffic warden. And the traffic warden, as he stopped, said, is that your car? Exactly the same words, but a completely different meaning by a different person. And sometimes you have to realize this, that things that are said, but if it's said by one person or said by another person, they can have completely different meanings. So this is where you need to go within you as an individual and ask God to give you the correct interpretation. I pray on a regular basis that I might be able to deliver the truth in a way that cannot be misconstrued. Now, that's close to impossible because there'll always be somebody that misconstrues it. But that's what I pray, that I might be able to deliver a message that is simple enough that it can't be misconstrued. And I know you do the same, Gene, that you've been out there for a long time now, trying to get the truth out there, and you've stood the test of time, and I'm proud to call you a friend.
Thank you, Charlie. So, yeah, really hard to be misconstrued, not to be misconstrued. It's like, you ask a man, do you have any, the woman, I don't have any clothes to wear. The man, does, I have some clothes to wear, because he's going through the shirts on the floor and smelling them. Okay, that one's clean enough. It doesn't reek. Yep, I've got clean clothes. Wife asks, you have clean clothes? Yeah, this one's clean. It's on the floor. You wore it yesterday. Yeah, but it doesn't reek is what he means. Yeah. I mean, it's clean. If we look at, he said, Christ said, today you will join me in paradise. You don't understand. There's two types of time. And again, we use today to mean today. We only think there's one. There's linear time, which is corporeal time and linear. That means you think that tomorrow, August 31st is tomorrow. Yeah, corporeally speaking. Soul body speaking, no. Soul time is completely different. That's the time you're experiencing it with God, in the service to God, that you are experiencing in soul time. So tomorrow or today, you will be with me today, later today, the next minute when you die or whatever. You go to another life. I'll give a really good example. My last lifetime, I studied under Miyamoto Musashi in Japan. Look up when he lived. The lifetime before that, I was alive 550 years ago as a Tuscarora Apache medicine person. Look at the time. The one before that, I was a French trapper in the Canadian area. The one before that, I was in the Roman Empire in Ephesus, where the capital of Rome was in Ephesus. How are those one after another going back? Because soul time, the soul incarnating experiences linear time different than a corporeal body experiences linear time. When you say Christ is saying today, that means soul time, because the body, the corporeal body, is being left behind, and it's talking to the soul of the person that's in soul time. So there's different time. And actually, he's using words, like I said, that mean that. Today, he's using the word to the soul, that speaking to the soul understands, means soul time. Speaking to the soul, not to the corporeal body. So, when I speak, like I had somebody correct on a decode, I just redid, I'm starting to redo my dome decodes, and I did the introduction, and I say therein, there's THEREIN or dash IN or THEIR dash IN or without the dash. They all have meaning, but they're all different. So what does each one mean? Look at how it is. Take it in context. It's what I said. Again, we look at reincarnation. That word didn't exist during the time of Jesus Christ, when he was corporeal and living and walking the earth, on the physical earth, in a what seemed to be most people, a corporeal body like yours and mine. Not like yours and mine, made up of a unique substance created by God to be utterly and completely unique. I had a gentleman who gave me two Bibles, one translated from the original Hebrew and one translated from the original Greek. And he translated that for me, what the body of Christ really was. So, we see him bleeding on the cross. That's not blood in the sense of what we have. That is literally the liquid light of the Holy Spirit coming from him, because he is the Word of God said in Mary's womb, which then became the light of the Holy Spirit, which is we don't have three gods. Again, people say, you don't have one God, you have three gods. No, there are three different properties. Would you say ice is not water? Well, in a sense, it's a different state, but it is still water. Is steam water? Is steam in a nuclear power plant at 850 degrees that's dry water? Yes, but it seems to be dry. Is steam on the surface of the sun that is now plasma energy, but it is water. It's under tremendous pressure, and they have determined by the light emission of it, it's water jets coming out of those black sunspots you're seeing. Cooling craft that are coming out from inside the sun, the Stargate in the center of the sun. How can there be water? There's bacteria on the sun. They go, how can that be? Because you're not understanding the science, because the science you've been given is a whole bunch of made up garbage. So it's just like you said, Charlie, we can't understand certain things. And it's a big part of it is because they've made it purposely so you can't understand. You can't understand the math they teach you in school because you're not learning Vedic math that's based on certain principles. Depending on the situation, you use this type of math. You're using computer math. Add, multiply, add. You're not doing the way you should do. Add, multiply. So you don't have equations, numbers below the numbers. You have to do another set of something after that. All you do, if you do crosswise or you do by the difference or by the sum, you just write the answer below it. You're done. And you use your mind. It teaches you Vedic math teaches you to use your mind. You're keeping sums in your head as you're multiplying. It teaches you to be able to multitask. Women are born with a larger corpus callosum, where the right and left hemispheres are more completely connected. But men need to exercise it, and it'll grow like anything else. You exercise it, it grows. It gets bigger, more strands come in, and then men can do the same exact thing. I teach this in martial arts with different what are called brain gyms that help you coordinate the left and right hemisphere. They want you to use them separately and break that apart. It's the whole point of what they're doing. It's part of what the graphene stuff that's in the things that people put in their arms, thinking what they were being told was good for them. This is good for you. Now there's supposed to be a new strain that will go after the people that got that put in their arms. Did you not see you're being played? Wake up and smell the roses. Thank you, Charlie.
No, look, there's one half of me, Gene, that my heart goes out to these people because I was born and brought up in a religious cult, and it took me 10 years, Gene, to come to terms with what was really true when I came out. It took me 2.5 years just to find my feet. And we are starting to see people waking up to the truth. Interestingly, though, those people that are close to me that were asleep during the first COVID lockdowns and one thing or another, their answer is, well, not everything you said was right, Charlie. Well, I didn't realize that the bar was perfection, but there you go. My job was to try and establish the truth. And the things that I got wrong were the dates. But that doesn't bother me because it was never about the dates. It was about the truth. And God does it in his own time, not in Charlie's time. God will do it. And as we look back, I look back going, I can see why we've gone this way now, because this had to be exposed. The whole system had to be exposed. The judicial system had to be exposed. The corruption in DC, the corruption in the DOJ, the corruption, people had to see it. They had to see it, the corruption with Bill Barr, with Mike Pence, with all they had to see it. Otherwise, they go, no, they're on Trump's side then. And Trump made a very interesting comment a few years back now about the value of going bankrupt. The value of going bankrupt is you learn who your friends are. And this journey, he certainly learned who his friends are, because apparently they were all his friends before he went into politics. They all loved him because of the simple fact he had deep pockets. And they loved his money and they loved him. But the minute he got into politics, everything changed because he started to drain the swamp. And that's what we're living through right now, the draining of the swamp. And I don't think, I certainly didn't realize how dirty the swamp was. I talked about it, but the realization now of how evil these people are, and we're seeing it now in Lahaina in Maui, we're seeing how evil these people are. We're seeing it worldwide with the constant indictment of Trump on spurious charges. We're seeing how evil these people really are. The fact that children, if one child goes missing, it's way too many. 2,000 or 1,200 or 2,000 people missing, or 1,200 of children missing, and nobody knows where they are. And yet people have seen boats and containers leaving with children, but nobody knows where. These things are deeply, deeply concerning. And my wife has said to me, how can people do this? Well, it's very, very easy. These people are evil. They're on the other side. And I don't think we realize how evil can be. And all we can do is pray that God will intervene and save these children's lives and save these people's lives. And then it's down to God to deal with those people who knew what they were doing and who did what they did. It's not down to you or me. God will deal with them. And I rest very well at night in the knowledge of that God will deal with them, and everybody who's been involved in this evil will be dealt with.
Exactly. So, as the Bible says, nothing is hidden that shall not become known and become, so we know the verse. So, yes, we're in a time of the truth coming out and who is who and what is what and the truth of it. And it had to be in this way. There was no other way. People think that it's going to, they're impatient because it's been 8 or 9 or 10 years. I've been doing this for over 3 decades now. I put my life on the line. I've had, many attempts made on my life. Fortunately, God has kept my back because I've done my best to keep straight to God and do my best. So I'm still here so far, but I'm not worried about what comes next. I know what comes next. I'm actually kind of looking forward to it, not kind of, extremely. Yeah. Because, this is just a school. And what seems to be an incredibly long time here, I do have a lot of compassion for all the majority of everybody here has gone through Soul Trap over and over, and you don't remember anything from the past lives. It's, I have to come back each time and start over with people I've known 100 times, 1 million, 1 billion times. So time consuming to reestablish myself and get all this. And how do you know this? I have a reasonably decent memory. It's not like 1 billion years ago. It was a long time ago to me, especially in soul time. So, yes, I know they've done this. I remember these things. I know you don't. I'm sorry. I wish it were different, but it's not up to me. And, I have patience because for me, I remember this 5 creations ago. How long is that? 500 quadrillion years? You think 8 years seems like a long time to me, let alone God. I mean, come on. How long is 8, 9, 10 years? Not even a wave of air through a grass field. It's just like an instant of time to the creator of all things, the only God of all creation. It's all in God's time. You can demand it now. You can be impatient. You can slam your feet. We can be spoiled children, or we can know all will be revealed in its time. And it's when that time comes, and it has to happen this way. It has to be revealed this way. As far as the math again, this is really simple in how many children in Lahaina are missing. Go to the census of children at school age, whether they're homeschooled or not, 3,001. Now, how many have been counted for? 1,000. Okay, I think I can do this in my, let me see, 3,001 minus 1,000, 2,001 are missing. Real basic subtraction. So how many are missing? 2,001. Where are 2,001 children? The bones were left. How many bones have they found? They searched the entire area and then threw a big, huge black screen so you can't look into it even from way up above. You can't even fly drones over it. What are you hiding? You don't want us to see the truth, obviously. Who's still in charge? And those that are following orders, how about looking and seeing if the orders are lawful and legal? Yeah. If it's not a legal order, that's a travesty against the oath you took to the United States for America, the constitutional republic, not the mob rule-cracy. Democracy is mob rule. One person over half agrees, and that's what we're going to do. Well, what if about 90% of them are totally out of their mind and psychopaths on you, like Trump has learned? When you're up against the wall and it's getting hard, it is ruthlessly brutal. Who are the people that stand beside you then and have your back and backs all pointed together with your weapons pointed out to protect you and the others that are with you from attack? But those people turn on you and attack you and say all kinds of things. Those are not your friends. Those are not your family. For me, family is those people. It has nothing to do with blood for me, because I'm still me, even though I was me under Miyamoto Musashi, same person I am now. Pretty much the same person. I've always been a martial artist and a warrior, and a military person. Pretty much almost all my lives. There's a few that I weren't, but I've been a priest and some other things, but I was a warrior priest, so pretty much a warrior against this garbage of messing around with children. Children are children. They're a gift from God. Respect that gift and do the right thing and raise that child to be as a child, as it learns, and support that knowledge in truth to the laws of God. Respect that child. There's a time for that they come of age and they're getting through puberty, that sex is explained, not shown, not done.
Sure. Well, Gene, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm going to have to love you guys and leave you, but I really appreciate you coming on. I know my audience did. I know we missed you in the first half, but we got you in the second half. But I'd love to have you back on again, because your intel is unbelievably good. I love your spirit. I love your connection with God. And I think at this moment in time, Gene, this is what people need. And massive thank you from me and from Drew. And I hope to catch up with you again soon.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you for having me on your platform again after all these years. Thank